Callum Smith versus Joshua Bautsi. What a fight. Wow. That was a crazy fight, man. Back and forth. Brutal at times, man. Wow, some of the shots these two guys were throwing. Absolutely incredible, man. Damn. But you know what? Callum Smith, nah. He showed me a different side to him today, man. Callum Smith's got that dog in him. Do you know what I mean? He's got that dog in him. He had to dig deep at times in that fight. Do you know what I mean? So did Buatsi. Respect to Buatsi. Shout out to Buatsi, man. He's earned my respect. Do you know what I mean? He's earned my respect because, listen, Smith could have got him out of there in the middle rounds. Seriously. Buatsi was getting hurt badly in that fight. He was getting tagged, man. Do you know what I mean? Callum Smith was being ruthless, vicious with the body shots. Oh my God. He was relentless. Do you know what I mean? But overall, it was just a fantastic fight. For me personally, yeah, probably my favorite fight on the card. Do you know what I mean? Like, probably my favorite fight on the card. I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people are going to be going with the main event, Beterbiev versus Bivol, and that was a great fight itself. But for me, the one I really enjoyed that I thought 50-50 Buatsi and Smith, man. Like, I feel like in this fight, Callum Smith just showed his class, innit? He showed his experience, and it just goes to show, like, both fighters have been operating in different realms, innit? Different levels. Joshua Bautsi, for me, he's more on the British, European level. Do you know what I mean? Callum Smith, he's been operating at world level. You know, let's not forget, Callum Smith has been the world champion. He's been the world champion. Do you know what I mean? So he's been the danda. And the caliber of fighters that Callum Smith has faced, Joshua Bautsi hasn't done that yet. He hasn't faced a Canelo. He hasn't faced a Beterbiev. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't faced some of the guys that Callum Smith has faced. So that's why I kind of like, when I was watching the fight, I can tell the inexperience of Buatsi was letting him down a lot of the time during the rounds. Do you know what I mean? Because there was times in that fight where Callum Smith was right there. He was in position for Buatsi to hit him, for Buatsi to clip him, but Buatsi was just ineffective. Like, he wasn't active enough. Do you know what I mean? During the little pauses, he wasn't active enough. He was letting Callum Smith get away with it. Do you know what I mean? For me, Joshua Bautsi was being reactive rather than being active, taking the initiative, really pushing Callum Smith back, going to the body early. He didn't do any of that. And I can hear, like, in between the rounds, like, his trainer, Virgil Hunter, he was telling him, yo, you need to go for this, man. You can, this guy's getting tired. Callum Smith is getting tired. You need to go after this guy. But Buatsi was just hesitant. He was hesitant a lot of the time. He wasn't letting his hands go. I don't know, man. I just feel like inexperience played a big part because Buatsi's been facing a lot of European, British level caliber fighters. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't been to the other side. He hasn't fought world-class fighters who Smith is. Smith is a world-class fighter. Smith's only two defeats are Canelo Alvarez and Artur Beterbiev. Come on. Look at the company that Callum Smith has been keeping compared to a Joshua Bautsi. Like, Joshua Bautsi, his last fight. Let's look at Joshua Bautsi. Let's look at his record for a sec here. Joshua Bautsi, his last fight, Willie Hutchinson. He had a few problems in that as well. Again, British level for me personally. Dan Aziz, he fought, Joshua Bautsi fought Dan Aziz again, British level. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at all of Joshua Bauti's fights. He hasn't faced a world-class fighter, the level of Callum Smith. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't fought for a world title. And his inexperience showed in that ring because the fight was there for him. The fight was there. I don't think like this was the best version of Callum Smith. Do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a slick or anything like that. He was still taking a lot of shots. He was cut above the eye with a left hook from Buatsi. Buatsi was tagging him. It's just that Buatsi did not do enough. He wasn't active enough. He wasn't throwing enough in the fight to take the initiative and get that dub. He just didn't do that. And for me, it's all based on his inexperience. You know what I mean? But that serves Buatsi well, because I feel like this is gonna bring out the best version of him. This fight against Callum Smith is gonna improve him. It's gonna make him better. Do you know what I mean? I feel like him and Anthony Yarde are kind of similar. Do you know what I mean? Anthony Yarde was beating, smashing up all the domestic fighters. As soon as he moved up against Kovalev, lost. Went against Beterbiev, lost. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like Joshua Bautsi, Anthony Yarde, now that they both have that experience, do you know what I mean, against world-class fighters, I want to see that fight. I know Anthony Yarde is fighting, what's my man's name? Lyndon Arthur. You know, I really hope Anthony Yarde gets through that fight and we can finally see Joshua Bautsi versus Anthony Yarde. Do you know what I mean? Even though there's no title on the line or anything, but I actually want to see who's the best out of these two guys, because I feel like both guys are great. They have heart. They go out there and leave everything in a ring. And I really want to see. This has been a long-term rivalry. That's going to be a very interesting matchup, especially stylistically, the way Anthony Yarde likes to throw a lot of power punches. He's very active. And Joshua Bautsi keeps that high guard, comes in and tries to throw some bombs of his own as well. But that's going to be interesting. You know what I mean? Like, let's watch that space, man. Hopefully that's the next fight. But I tell you what, this fight, like I said, man, I really enjoy it. Callum Smith, he showed me he's got that dog in him. And that's the type of performance that I want to see a lot more from him. I want to see Callum Smith dig in. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the times I've seen him when he stepped up to that championship level against the elite fighters, Alvarez, you know, Canelo and Beterbiev, when they take him to that dark place, he tends to fold, starts feeling sorry for himself, lets his guard down, and he gets peppered, gets battered, and he gives up. Do you know what I mean? For me, he gives up. Yes, those fighters are elite, they're great fighters. We have to respect them. But for me, Callum Smith just kind of like starts feeling sorry for himself and he gives up, man. He gives up on himself. Do you know what I mean? But in this fight, he took some shots. There was rounds in there, I think like round 6 or 7. He was tagging Joshua Bautsi. It looked like Joshua Bautsi was gonna go down. It looks like Smith was gonna take him out of there. Just before the end of the round, Joshua Bautsi tagged Callum Smith with a left hook, I believe. Then he went to the body as well. Callum Smith looked like he was gonna be out of it, but again, showed great heart, resilience, dug in there, stayed in there, and he survived, and he came back. He went after Buatsi. That's exactly what I loved about what Callum Smith did in that fight. A lot of the time he was back and forth, but let's be real, Callum Smith was winning a lot of the exchanges. Callum Smith was the guy on the front foot. Callum Smith was the guy that was more active, more busy, throwing more combinations, going body top, body top. The guy just stayed busy. Callum Smith, to me, it looked like in this fight, he wanted to prove a point. He wanted to show Joshua Bautsi and the British boxing fans that he's levels above these British guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was like, yo, I think you guys must have forgot about me. Have you seen who I've beaten? The likes of Joe Groves. He's got that on his resume. And Joe Groves was a hell of a fighter. Callum Smith destroyed him. Finished him with a body shot. But I just feel like in recent years, he hasn't really performed at a high level. He hasn't really produced the level of quality of performance that we expect of him, because we know the Smith family, they're a boxing family, man. And Callum Smith is probably the best, the most talented out of all of them. And we've probably expected a lot more from him in terms of like just great performances. And we haven't really seen that from him. So people probably forgot about Callum Smith and they were probably doubting him. They're probably thinking, you know what, maybe he's reached his ceiling. But you know what, against Joshua Bautsi, vicious guy. And he won a unanimous decision. I didn't have a problem with the decision whatsoever. It was right. You know what I mean? He won. He won about 6 rounds for me, man. 6 or 7 rounds for me. I'm going to be honest. Some rounds were tight. Some rounds, they could have been swing rounds. But for me, I gave it to Callum Smith just because he stayed busy. He was the busier fighter. He was throwing more shots. Joshua Bautsi, the inexperience. There was times in that fight, he was sitting in the pocket. Do you know what I mean? He just wasn't throwing anything. I don't know if his game plan was to let MUNDO tie himself out, and then in the later rounds, Joshua Bautsi can get active, but I always think that's a risk, especially when you're going up against a world-class fighter like Callum Smith. You cannot afford to give away early rounds because it's not guaranteed you're going to finish them. That is not guaranteed. Like someone like a Callum Smith, he's got wealth of experience. He's been there with the best of them. So he's not going to let you catch him out later on. Do you know what I mean? And for you to finish him, he's not going to let you do that. Do you know what I mean? I feel like Joshua Bautsi, that was a great learning experience for him. That's going to be great for him because Joshua Bautsi is very talented. He's from Ghana. They are solid, man. I had some Ghanaian friends in school. I still got some Ghanaian friends now. These guys can fight. They just got that raw power. They got that dog in them. They got heart. And that's exactly what Joshua Bautsi is. But in this fight against Callum Smith, just the inexperience, the lack of facing world-class fighters. He hasn't faced world-class fighters. It's all been European, British level. And that let him down in this fight. But you know what? He's going to learn from this. Do you know what I mean? He's got a lot about him. And I believe in him. I really like him. I like Joshua Bautsi. I like everything about him, how he goes about business. After, post-fights, pre-fight, he handles himself very well, well-spoken, very respectful guy, humble as well. So I believe that he's learned a lot from this fight. He's going to come back stronger. This experience will serve him well. Do you know what I mean? And I think if he stays focused, stays clean, eat good, looks after his body, what is he, like 31 or something like that? He's still got a few years. Joshua Bautsi, he's 31 years old. He's still got a couple more years, British level. Even he'll get like world. I'm sure he'll get a world title shot at one point. Do you know what I mean? And that'll be good for him because I really think Joshua Bautsi is a good fighter, man. He's a good fighter. Just inexperience let him down. But like I said, that's gonna serve him well. For Callum Smith, maybe a fight with Beterbiev, man. A fight with Beterbiev, make that happen, man. I think that's going to be a cracking fight. Do you know what I mean? That's going to be a crazy fight. I don't mind seeing that, but maybe Beterbiev is looking out for Bivol or Beterbiev, but it looks like Beterbiev and Bivol are going to be having a trilogy. So Callum Smith is there, man. Why not challenge him? That would be a good fight for MUNDO. You know what I mean? And MUNDO can take Beterbiev. Do you know what I mean? Because MUNDO is very skilled. Callum Smith is a very skilled fighter. But listen, overall, man, this Riyad card, I've really enjoyed it. I really think this Riyad card is going to age like fine wine because a lot of the fights, we're going to go back and keep rewatching it because all of them were great fights in it. But my favorite was the Joshua Bautsi versus Callum Smith fight. Callum Smith, great performance, man. He showed that he's a class above the British level, European level. Do you know what I mean? And Joshua Bautsi, unfortunately, he lost his all and he had to learn the hard way. Do you know what I mean? But Joshua Bautsi will come back stronger. I'm going to leave you at that. Let me know in the comments, man. What did you think of the fight? Did you enjoy Callum Smith versus Joshua Bautsi? What do you think Joshua Bautsi has to do to bridge that gap between himself and the world-class fighters? Do you know what I mean? What do you think he needs to do? And what's next for Callum Smith? Who would you like to see him fight next? Let me know in the comments. I'll really appreciate that. Once again, thank you so much for watching EMGM Sports. I'm your boy Enzo. Please go ahead and smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead, please subscribe because that's the only way you're going to help us to grow. I'm out. I'll be back with another one real soon. Until then, stay blessed. Peace.